All right. Gesundheit. Doesn't make any sense. Brain tease for you guys. What is it that sets words apart? What is it that makes them unique? Got the answer? Good. Um, it occurs to me that the only thing that delineates words from something like a door slamming or a rumble of thunder or something like that is that words are meant to communicate human experience. They're meant to communicate our conceptualizations, our thoughts, our imaginations, and our feelings, right? And our perceptions of the world around us. And it occurs to me that if they fail to do that, they lose that deeper meaning. They lose that deeper significance that they have to us in that they're meant to communicate the thoughts of another mind, something that is like us. They're meant to get what's in here into another person's head. Maybe that's something that's just super obvious, but it felt kind of like an interesting notion to me that that's the only thing that really sets them apart. Maybe that oh, for the love, it just sounds stupid now. Um, anyways, moving on, we have a video by Oompaville that I want to look at. I'll probably splice that other one of Dr. Mike into this as well, but I didn't like the opening of my original video. And fingers crossed, hopefully my headphones will still work. Yeah, Church of Scientology. So, The Terrifying Cult of Scientology by Oompaville. He's kind of an interesting guy. There's actually there's an interesting kind of notion in content making, or maybe just media as well, that there's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot between the notion of being sincere but not taking yourself too seriously. And I feel like Oompaville does a good job of that, although he maybe leans a little bit more towards, a lot of jokes in his content, but like there's an element there where there's a balance to be struck between those two things if you want to make good content, I think.
So let's start with a simple question. What exactly is Scientology? On paper, it's a religion founded by L. Ron Hubbard in 1953, offering a path to...
I literally thought this was like Elrond. Like, I thought that was like one word. No, it's L. Ron Hubbard. Goodness gracious.
greater self-awareness and spiritual enlightenment through a process...
Okay. So I'm thinking in Mentalist it was. They kind of had a religion, I forget what it was called, Visualize or something, that was kind of in the same vein as this. I'm pretty sure it was kind of supposed to be an allegory for Scientology a little bit. And that TV show there was
called auditing. But the reality of what Scientology is far more complex.
Although to be fair, I mean, most cults kind of follow stereotypical behavior. There's kind of a pattern to it, if you will. Generally, you have charismatic leaders, you have isolation, you have interesting notions that aren't exactly mainstream. There's a recipe to creating a cult a little bit.
And disturbing, puckering, I would say. What would you say, little boy? Just kidding. The Holy Relic has his own camera now. Isn't this awesome?
Sorry.
Before becoming a religious leader, L. Ron Hubbard made his name writing pulp science fiction. What is pulp science fiction? I don't know. But is there a pulp-free version? Cut that out. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, he cranked out hundreds of stories for magazines like Astounding Science Fiction, scraping by as a moderate...
It feels like a weird way for a person to get their
successful
start.
Genre writer. He was kind of the Hitler of pulp science fiction writers. Big failure, to be honest, barely scraping by. This background as a pulpy science fiction writer becomes particularly interesting when you consider that Scientology's core beliefs involve ancient aliens, yes sir, galactic confederacies and souls that have existed for trillions of years. I love aliens, by the way, and I'm not a Scientologist. Yet. We'll wait to the end of the video to decide whether or not I'm going to become one. All right, guys? We'll leave it up to you. If this video gets 100,000 likes, I will become a Scientologist. Guys, we'll leave it up to you. If this video gets 100,000 likes, I will become
Please be patient.
It's f***ed up. This whole
It feels like one of the most annoying characteristics of very fanatical like strains of either religions or cults or whatever is that a belief that one has a monopoly on the truth, I guess, that we have the truth is the type of cyclical, like, no, we're the ones who have the answers and refusal to talk to people outside of their group, outside of their circle.
story. It's very f***ed up. For a bit more context on L. Ron Hubbard, there's a quote that actually haunted him for decades. According to several of his contemporaries, Hubbard once declared at a science fiction gathering, a fucking nerd party, "You don't get rich writing science fiction. If you want to get rich, you start a religion."
That's kind of an own goal there. Probably quite true. Well, I'm saying I think you can't get rich writing science fiction, but yeah, religious people. I mean, there's a lot of people who do that.
I'm gonna write that one down. Of course, the church vehemently denies he ever said this because it would erode their legitimacy quite heavily. Yet, multiple witnesses, including science fiction writer Theodore Sturgeon, my favorite, have sworn to hearing similar statements from Hubbard at various nerd parties. The transition for L. Ron Hubbard from...
Oh, that's one of the things. It feels like cult leaders. I don't know. I think sometimes they're huffing their own smoke, but I think it could be that quite often they are shysters. Like there are people who don't believe the stuff they're preaching, but they need other people to believe it. So hey, yeah, let's say get them to believe it with all their heart and soul and mind, but like they have to be able to control it. They can't huff their own smoke there.
Fiction writer to religious founder wasn't exactly immediate. In 1950, Hubbard published Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, and marketed it as a revolutionary self-help system. It is a book that promises to cure physical ailments, increase intelligence, and eliminate unwanted emotions, like constipation, for example.
I'm going to quote something from one of my teachers in Bible school, so take it for what it's worth. But there's, I don't know if it's actually original with him, but there's this notion that every characteristic, if expressed in immaturity, can be bad. I don't like the notion of trying to exercise different parts of who you are as a person. I think every part of who you are as a person, every characteristic, every emotion, all of it can be useful if you learn to use it right, if you learn to control it, etc., etc. So like the notion of like, no, that part of you is bad. Just like, no, it's like, don't. I wouldn't want to just snap my fingers and get rid of like a part of who I am as a person. But I would like to learn how to control myself better. I would like to learn how to do that better, so to be a better person. So like again, the notion of like get rid of unwanted, like, no, don't get rid of unwanted emotions. Just learn to control those emotions. They're like innately bad, I don't think.
Flocked to Dianetics. People were...
Put it this way, I tend to think God created you exactly as he intended you to be. So like the notion of just, you get rid of all of the bad feel, like, no. You're exactly as you're intended to be. Just learn to control yourself. Learn to use what you have in a good way to turn it to good ends or whatever.
Very stupid in the 1950s. It became an instant bestseller, and Hubbard quickly established foundations across the country. Now, why? Sure, it promises...
Yeah. And that's the notion, the promise of blank. People fall for that a lot, and I think it's a very nefarious thing to do, to prey on people's hope or dreams, right? To give them false hope of something that is a dastardly act, in my opinion.
All these epic things, but what exactly drew people in? The promise of self-improvement without doctors or psychiatrists. That's what drew people in. By the way, L. Ron Hubbard despised both of those professions fairly openly, doctors and
psychiatrists. To be fair, I'm not overly fond of psychiatrists myself, but I don't know if I would. I don't despise necessarily the profession. I just hate the notion of people trying to figure me out to the nth degree, and just there's a weird like psychological trick to this, where it feels like the notion of a person understanding everything you're going to do and predicting it, like it feels like it puts you kind of in a box almost, And like on a psychological level, it feels like it's almost a threat to your free will that someone can predict exactly what you're going to do. I think we don't like it. We intuitively do not like it when people can figure us out exactly. Yeah, I guess maybe that's why I don't really like psychologists that much.
Psychiatrist. That becomes a cornerstone you'll learn more about. When the initial
Psychiatrist, psychologist. I wonder if there's a difference.
craze and virality of Dianetics in the 1950s began to fade
I mean, I guess I don't know.
and the organization faced some financial troubles, Hubbard made a pivotal move. In 1953, he repackaged his science fiction ideas as the Church of Scientology, adding religious elements to his teachings. It wasn't
That feels like a weird pivot. Like if you're literally like initially marketing these things as science fiction, well, I guess maybe I guess I don't know exactly what the transition. Maybe it was just the notions, like the overlying themes or whatever. But I feel like yeah,
just a philosophical
it feels like it'd be hard to get people to take that seriously, at least if they were recognizable parts of the books. Maybe it'd be like, okay, isn't this kind of a joke that you put inside your science fiction, like a trope or something like that? Like, why are you preaching this as some sort of gospel?
shift either. It was a very strategic shift. Notice how my preface was when the virality of Dianetics started to fade and the organization faced financial troubles. This began crazy. You see, my friends, religious organizations enjoy significant legal protections and tax benefits.
Crazy, man. Feels sorry, I'm getting distracted by this thingy here. It's pretty cool, actually.
That self-help groups or honest people just don't get. This guy Ron's a fucking genius or whatever. So what is the appeal exactly? What does Scientology offer that attracts so many followers and has for such a long time, in spite of it just being a made-up science fiction work of nonsense?
You know what's weird? For the longest time, I literally thought this guy's hair was blonde, and then one time I seen him without his hat. I think it's black or, oh, I guess at least brownish. I think it's because his beard or his mustache maybe looks a certain way. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why.
Was built to extract money from people. The main attracting pitch for Scientology is that it offers you a precise scientific method to free you from emotional pain.
Okay, what's with this? What? Like, is there something weird with the script, or is this something goofy with his thing? Supreme Being. There have never been scholarly studies of Scientology, and the books are freely available in bookshops, churches, and most libraries.
Boost your abilities and reveal your true potential.
Level up.
This is unlike traditional religions where you ask for faith in unseen gods. Scientology presents itself as practical technology
I feel like atheists would love this.
that can deliver measurable results.
There's a weird. I've actually heard this. The notion I had growing up, maybe at least I say growing up. Whenever I had heard of it, like Jim Jones and whatever that like the Jonestown massacre or whatever, where a whole bunch of people committed suicide. That guy was not actually a Christian. I think at one point he was a Christian, but he had kind of turned atheist and then kind of cult leader. I don't know if he ever changed his beliefs on that, but it was a weird type of religion going on there. But he wasn't a Christian. He's not when the weird shit happened. You have to look that up. I would have gotten the idea that he was actually an atheist at that point in time.
Don't believe us, they say. Try it for yourself.
Atheists are racking up. I'm gonna stop. No, I'm not gonna stop racking up. Atheists are racking up the points. They have Jeffrey Dahmer. They have Jim Jones. They have Stalin. Mao Zedong. Was Paul Pot in that category too? I don't know.
And get your money back, guaranteed. They don't
Interesting
actually say
characters.
that. New members of Scientology typically start with basic courses focused on communication skills, things like how to smile properly and how to wave. Improper, proper. Note the eyes. I smile with my eyes. Waving as well, here's an example. Newbies also focus on study methods and introductory.
Here's a question. Okay. My mind was going to the notion of Freemasons, which is kind of the same thing, where it starts out like ostensibly it's just a really easy thing. But I was thinking of the notion of Shriners. Last night on one of a Columbo episode, I was hearing about Shriners. I'm going to guess that's another secret society. I have to look that up sometime. I'm looking it up now, but I'll have to like go on a research tour with you guys. Shriners. International fraternity organization for men based on Masonic principles. Okay. So maybe they're associated with the Masons, the Freemasons.
Auditing, which is a form of counseling that uses an e-meter device that supposedly measures emotional reactions, aka no fucking nonsense. One thing that's sort of annoying about all this.
No, that is definitely a thing, because I remember on Mentalist, they literally had a thing where they took Jane in and they were doing that to him. They were literally having this weird device that they hooked him up to, and he was, I am 90% sure that was some sort of allegory for Scientology.
Is that this stuff actually kind of works. The initial experiences genuinely can help people feel better, because when you have someone listen to your problems and promise you solutions, it's very powerful. Normally professionals just listen to your problems. They don't promise you solutions. They try to find a solution.
That's kind of funny. If you
solution with you. Scientology just cuts out that evidence-based approach and says, you are a trillion-year-old spirit. Nuclear bombs and volcanoes were in your past. Give me money. Give me money. To the vulnerable and people who don't feel...
like, it's kind of a red... Yeah. I keep using the word red flag too much. It's kind of a gradient marker of like a snake oil salesman. Where like, hey, yeah, yes, I'm going to give you all this stuff, but now you have to... Yeah. Give me money. Generally, when there's money involved, and bells and whistles should be going off.
Exactly fulfilled and or maybe feeling lost, this is powerful. Also, the early stages in general of Scientology are not particularly outlandish. They're pretty cool and kind of normal. You see, it's only as members progress up to the bridge to total freedom, is what it's called, as they invest more time.
Yeah, I just hate the notion. It feels like the whole like corny etheric names to stuff. It's just a really stupid like trope. I don't know. That should set off some alarm bells in your head, right? That should set off some.
And more money, they are gradually introduced to more controversial cosmological beliefs, including the story of Xenu.
And pedo shit. No. It's more of a world cabal type of thing.
My grandmother's dog. Wait, no. What?
According to Alex Jones. For the record, I don't actually watch Alex Jones, but yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theories around like pedo cults in like higher realms of authority and whatnot.
That was Xena. It was Xena. It wasn't Xenu. For some reason in my head.
Well, here's my problem. Like, sorry to interrupt him again. I tend to think that anything that is like sin is kind of dysfunctional by nature. So any type of world cabal that doesn't, maintain some sort of moral order, anything that would be like super hedonistic would not be maintainable over any type of length of time. So I tend to think it either has to be functional and consequently to some extent moral or something like that. But like the whole notion of like a pedo cult, like, yeah, how would those people stay on the same page with each other? Like that feels a little bit, just the teeniest bit far-fetched in my mind.
My grandmother's dog. Wait, no, that was Xena. It was Xena. It wasn't Xenu. For some reason in my head, I was like, my grandmother might be a Scientologist. Xenu is the galactic overlord who allegedly brought billions of his people to Earth 75 million years ago, and then fucking killed them using hydrogen bombs
based
in volcanoes. That is real. That is not a misrepresentation of the core belief of Scientology. That is real. It also took quite a while for Scientology to actually achieve...
is real?
A religious status. Throughout the 50s and 60s, Hubbard fought lengthy legal battles around the world to secure religious recognition, and in the United States, the organization waged war against the IRS for decades before finally gaining its tax-exempt status in 1993, under some mysterious circumstances that we'll explore later. Let's just say I'm waiting on my tax-exempt status too. Just kidding, I'm not, because that alludes to me doing something horrible and evil. I'm not doing that. Across Europe, in countries like Germany, France,
Oh,
and
damn it.
Belgium, Scientology continues to face official skepticism, governmental skepticism, often classified
Okay.
as a business or potential threat rather than a religion, which to me makes a lot of sense. But one fascinating aspect
Mm.
of Scientology's history is its hostility towards
It
splinter
does, like, it feels like there are certain religions that, I don't know, are almost innately a little bit subversive. Like, he does one on Mormonism, actually, which, like, you look back into their history, they were, like, full-on theocratic. I know the Mormons today are pretty nice, generally speaking, and they've ostracized a lot of the unfortunate doctrines that would have led them to believe some of this stuff. Like, they would have eliminated them or hidden them or burned them up or something. So, like, I would say the core doctrines today are not necessarily super. They're kind of benign. Back in the day, they were like full on theocratic. We're gonna take over the U.S. at some point, and there was stuff like there are sins that are too evil to forgive. So there was a thing where, like, later you could just kill a person because they committed something so bad or something like that. Like, you have to go look it up. Like, it's by the same guy, Umpaville. He does one on Mormonism. Really interesting stuff. Some really messed up stuff.
groups or denominations. Most religions have some kind of denomination or offshoot, some kind of friend church or something. What are you, Baptist? No, I'm Wesleyan. Whatever that is. Is that a thing? I think that's a thing. Scientology is not so friendly. They attack anyone practicing its trademark techniques outside of the official organization. Independent practitioners
That feels weird too. Like, trademark. What the what?
known collectively as the
Like a church with intellectual property. That is a strange sort of phenomenon.
free zone get litigated against frequently. They get frequently. They also get harassed and are labeled as squirrels, which is a pretty bad insult in Scientology, apparently. So we raise a few important questions here. If Scientology
You look that one up. Squirrel insult. Scientology. I think you'd have to specify Scientology. Hmm. All right. We'll go to Reddit. In an infallible indicator of truth. All right. Derogatory context. Do you personally feel the labels attached to you? Blah 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 blah. Squirrel, depending on blah 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 blah. Blah. Oh, squirrel is a Scientological term coined by L. Ron Hubbard, who always aggravated by his environment between packs of cigarettes he smoked each day for his health. In plain English, a squirrel refers to a rodent. And outside the churches, I've applied tech to people outside the church's jurisdiction with lasting good results. Huh. I don't know what it means. Never mind.
truly offers a path to spiritual freedom, why does it require a ruthlessly maintained monopoly on its practices? Strange. You can't be spiritual and
I
also
like the notion that the truth is kind of for everyone, right? It's a good idea for everyone. It's beneficial for everyone. There's a universalism to the truth, so it's just like, no, you can't use it unless, like, I don't know about that. That's the one thing that maybe should be free. The truth should be free. Okay.
have a proprietary good that you sell. Anyways, this naturally leads us to the cult question. I said the word cult just a moment ago. What makes something a cult rather than a religion? Comment down below. Or not. You're not going to win anything. Scholar.
I think there's something to the notion of, like, the nature of the deity involved, where, like, quite often, I guess it feels like quite often cults will have a very human deity who's like, I don't know. And I guess the dependence of that is like whether or not their deity is actually a deity.
First typically point to several key factors. A, charismatic leadership.
Never mind. We'll let him.
B, isolation from society. C, control of information. D, financial exploitation. And the one after D, psychological manipulation.
I would maybe say that if I had to put a finger on it, I would say the isolation is probably one of the most important markers. Like, to me, that would be like the most, like, the most damning evidence.
That's not even a joke. I forgot about E entirely. I started to panic too. Surely, most religions exhibit some of these traits to varying degrees, but cults embody them.
To be fair, the psychological manipulation probably also pretty bad. But every movement pretty much has a charismatic leader. So I'm like, I don't know if that's much getting away from that. It's like the person with the ideas, the person who can speak really well. Like, obviously they're going to develop a following. So I don't know if that's. But yeah, the psychological manipulation and isolation, that I think would be like the most like cut and dried markers of it.
To a more extreme and systematic
Comment down
level.
below.
The institution of Scientology is completely emboldened by all of these things, and then slaps a trademark on it. And if you stray from that path, sued, lawsuit, boom! I'm gonna hit you with a fucking lawsuit, you little fucker. You. Just kidding. Praise be. Let's take the charismatic leader aspect as our first example. Most major religions were indeed founded by fairly charismatic people. Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. But these faiths evolved beyond total devotion to their leaders. In Scientology, Hubbard
I don't know if that. I guess it's true to say like they're not like maybe like as fanatical as some cults would be, and like they're a little bit more chill, generally speaking. Like, religions tend to be a little bit more sustainable. That's because they've lasted for a long time. So the fanatical strains probably burn themselves out pretty quickly, and the cooler heads take over as a general rule. Like, they're more mainstream, I guess. That would be the idea. But like obviously in Christianity, the devotion is still to Jesus, right? So that part hasn't changed. But there's something to also be said for the fact that, like, there was kind of a cutoff point to divine revelation, where at this point the characteristics of Christianity are kind of, to some extent, set in stone, where there's not going to be some sort of, well, hopefully, fingers crossed, there won't be some sort of huge upheaval and some crazy strain of Christianity will come along and fiddle with stuff.
As the absolute authority, and his words are considered source and cannot be altered or questioned, even decades after his death. Rip, old boy. Shouldn't have been so spiritual and awesome. Maybe you would have lived a little bit longer. The control of the flow of information tells an entire.
Let's see, like, how old was Elrond? It's still like it's phonetically, it sounds exactly like he's saying Elrond, like Lord of the Rings Elrond. Ron Hubbard. Ron Hubbard. Huh. So it wasn't like a super short life. He was born in 1911, died in 1986. So what's that? 70 years? But I guess maybe in his religion he was supposed to live a lot longer. I was under the impression that somehow he lived a very short life. No, that's pretty decent, honestly. Like 70, 74, 75 years, something like that.
Entirely different story for Scientology. Mainstream religions generally make their core teachings freely available to anyone interested. You can read it online, you can read the Bible online, the Quran, the Buddhist
It is something
Sutra.
That's maybe also a little bit of a dubious sign. Like, if people are like the Freemasons and stuff like that, it's a little bit in the same thing. Do the Templars still exist? I think they still exist a little bit. There's something about that notion that, yeah, we're going to keep all of our teachings secret.
All without paying a dime. And before the internet, you could just go to a church or a whatever, what is it called? A mosque? That's right. Or a Buddhist one?
Synagogue.
A temple, I think. You could get them teachings for free, is what you could. But
dude, one crazy, like, I think a lot of people maybe sometimes get the wrong idea about the Talmud. I think the notion of the Talmud is that it's actually just a collection of commentaries on the Torah by rabbis or whatever. It's not exactly holy writ, as I understand it. But that thing is like freakishly long. I think I'm not sure exactly how long, but like there's a lot of like I mean they had a long time to talk about it, so I guess maybe they compiled a lot of. It's like exponentially longer, I think, than the actual like the Torah itself.
By extreme contrast, Scientology reveals its
I think
central
I think anyways. Yeah, I think the Talmud is way up there in word count.
cosmological teachings only to members who have paid hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars and also signed strict confidentiality agreements with large legal penalties for disclosure. So join, pay us money, we'll teach you, but you can't say anything about it because that's the only way we'll make money. Took my jacket off. Financial demands also separate cults from religions even further. While most faith traditions
That's probably true. Well, be more so that financial demands maybe are indicator like even in Christianity, if you see like prosperity gospel or stuff like that, where there's financial incentives involved, even if it is a religion, you should probably still be alarm bells should be going off because there are pastors who do a lot of the stuff even in Christianity. You can see that they're trying to get a lot of stuff from their parishioners.
encourage donations, they rarely make spiritual progress contingent on specific payment amounts.
And that's probably true. Like it's not like a pay to win type of thing. In which case, in Scientology, it very much seems like it is very much like a pay to win type of.
But in Scientology, advancing through the different levels of the bridge requires increasingly expensive courses and auditing sessions with total costs potentially reaching millions of dollars per member. So that really isn't a tithing, I wouldn't say, or passing around a collection plate. When L. Ron Hubbard says, "Let me hold a 20," he actually means, give me millions of dollars so I can lie to you, you fucking dumbass. That's what he actually meant, I think. To the defenders of Scientology, it provides a structured path to greater awareness, a supportive community, and techniques to overcome past trauma. All pretty cool, valid things, but to its critics, it offers an initially helpful facade that gradually transitions into a system of control, exploitation, and isolation designed primarily to extract the maximum amount of money and loyalty from its followers. It seems like this is
Yeah.
an unbiased piece, I promise.
Textbook cult behavior.
It's very unbiased. And as we'll discover throughout this exploration of a video, the reality of Scientology is far stranger than most people realize. Things get so fucking deep, so dark, honestly, and they go places unlike most on earth religions, that is. This is Scientology. It's part business, part intelligence agency, all working in lockstep towards goals established by a science fiction writer who discovered that creating a religion was indeed more profitable than.
All right. That's the end. We'll let you guys watch the rest if you want to. That's where we'll stop. Yeah, watch out for cults. Watch out for people who try to psychologically manipulate you. Right? Charismatic leaders. I would say the psychological manipulation and the isolation probably the best markers. Yeah, go check that out if you want to. Terrifying Cult of Scientology by Oompaville, who I. All right, to make this clippable, so video from Dr. Mike about online health scams, kind of a little bit going in the same vein as CoffeeZilla. They should get together sometime on this. CoffeeZilla and Dr. Mike look into this type of health scam type thing.
The other day, I had a patient who I was seeing for a low back issue, but after having an extensive conversation about the symptoms, I noticed the patient was more down than usual. And it turned out they fell victim to an online scam and were involved in some really heavy litigation to recover their identity and the money stolen. This wasn't the first time I've heard this happen either.
Huh. I wonder how they get all the names for those. Who comes up? Well, probably the person who discovers them, I guess. But
it happens to people of all ages, especially as nowadays the schemes have gotten more and more elaborate. Obviously, the tech companies need to step up their game to dissuade and punish the scammers, but at the same time, I'm a preventive focused doctor, so I realize it's also on me to alert you.
You ever watch? There's guys who they go around kind of yanking the chain of all the scammers. So those are pretty good. I'm thinking Kit Boga. That's the one I was thinking of. There's another guy with blue hair. I don't remember his name. yeah, they'll go around kind of ticking off people and making their lives difficult in general. Which is, yeah, the one person, if there's people worthy of doing it, it's the people who take advantage of like old people and people who don't know any better. Especially like in maybe in scenarios where they need health stuff like this. This is really despicable.
The most common scams out there. Think about it like I'm vaccinating you with information to
Danger! Danger! He's talking about vaccinate.
keep you from falling victim to these scams. Huge thanks to Bitdefender for sponsoring this video.
AI deepfakes like this one are all over the
Okay,
internet.
that's what threw me. Because the first part, I'm pretty sure it's actually him. This part, I was thinking like he got some really bad Botox or something.
Right now. That's right. This isn't actually me. It's an AI generation of my body.
Oh, maybe I was. I don't know. For this
And
part, I would
voice.
have recognized his
Let's say goodbye to him and hello to the real me. It's not hard to understand how dangerous this kind of technology
Wait, is this first part actually him?
is, especially when it's used to mimic a licensed physician. Now imagine getting a panic call from what looks like your kid saying that they're in trouble. That's how people are getting tricked. So if you feel pressure to act fast or send money without verifying
Sure that was a stock photo actress.
anything, that's a huge red flag. You've seen QR codes on menus, parking meters, or even on billboards on the street.
Don't trust him.
Scammers now post fake codes over that redirect you to malicious websites. Once you scan it, they can install malware or trick you into entering your bank or insurance login info. Just because it looks official doesn't mean it actually is. Always double check the source before scanning.
That's probably not a bad idea. Like it's online stuff, so you can like checking twice probably doesn't take too long, and it might save you some stuff. I tend to think caution is the best policy with regards to some of this stuff. Double check and then triple check.
If you need to, re-enter the website link manually. Children
Just in general, I generally just don't trust a lot of online communication. Like unless like I don't know, it just feels like a lot of it has the potential to be very very bad or catfishing of some sort. It's the wrong word. We're gonna say online scam. No, we'll go with catfishing.
being blackmailed online. This one is heartbreaking. We hosted the FBI on the Checka podcast where they warned about these huge blackmail scams where kids are tricked into sharing private photos or videos, then demanding money or more and more.
That's even creepier. Like I'm assuming, I guess I don't know. Kids is maybe a vague term here, but yeah, that's really morally dubious. Even more than the blackmailing, or it's just beyond the blackmailing. It's still it's even yeah creepier. One thing I was actually gonna say, you can actually maybe see this sometimes in um, it's kind of a red flag you might want to look for in news gathering as well. I think a lot of times people who are maybe doing fake news, you'll see like a close up of the scenario, right? But I think one of the things you want to look for in real news is actually like wide shots, multiple people in frame, identifiable locations, things that can be corroborated or need to be reconciled with other stuff. And that's the thing I think with fake news. Obviously, you don't want people to be able to say, "Oh, this was at this place in this location, and this is what happened there." You need it to be as nondescript as possible, and for people to just take it at face value. So, like, that's the one thing you might want to look for when you're trying to identify fake news is that type of close up, close in shot that doesn't show anyone else in frame. That's just one person who probably isn't known anywhere and can't be identified, or vague pictures of the ground or something that could have been taken anywhere but is said to have been taken here, right? Nothing identifiable, nothing reconcilable, nothing that could be corroborated with other stuff. It's red flags anyways. I guess that's what I'm saying.
content. These scammers are truly scummy because at times they pretend to be another teen, gain trust, then flip it into extortion. Parents, please talk to your kids early. They need to know that this isn't their fault and they should tell you immediately.
And just also saying, there's worth there's worse things than maybe not giving your kid a phone until they're like kind of adult-ish, anyways.
During health insurance open enrollment, when you sign up to get new health insurance, scammers flood inboxes and phones with fake offers. We can get you a cheaper plan. We can give you a gift card if you sign up now. We just need.
Nothing comes for free. That's a rule of life. It's one of those things like I don't know. It feels like they're offering you something that sounds too good to be true. Probably is.
Your social security number. They may sign you up for junk coverage, but many just full on steal your info. The FTC warns every year, only use healthcare.gov or your state.
Well, to be fair, I think originally I'd heard it from maybe David Mitchell first, one of his Mitchell soapboxes. It's one of those things where, like, a lot of times, if the thing is free, I'm paraphrasing him, but I'd heard it from some other people too. But like, if the thing is free, then you're probably the, you're the stock and trade, right? You're the thing being sold. It's an unfortunate reality of online behavior.
Marketplace, and never trust a cold call.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete.
Someone's impersonating you. Scammers will message or call saying your identity has been stolen, maybe even pretending to be the IRS, your bank, or your doctor's office. They'll claim they need to verify your account to stop the fraud.
Well, here's another thing you want to maybe check sometimes. It's a thing for like human behavior that if someone texts you or something, this isn't like perhaps revolutionary, but wait for them to text a second time. Because I think a lot of times, like if it's a robot, it'll literally just it sends out like probably a dozen of blank type of just one-line text to people to get people to respond, but it might not be programmed for like a follow-up response, like a stubborn type of belligerent type thing that a person who actually knows you or just a person in general would actually do. Right, so it's programmed for like the first like once like a one and done type of response, and then once it gives a response back, maybe it would be stimulated to do more, but it won't do more on its own, I think. So maybe an earmark of that sort of thing. I don't know. Earmark? I don't think that's the right word. Another red flag.
Ironically, that's the scam itself. Minnesota Vikings star Dallas Turner was actually the victim of this scam last year and lost $250,000. So if someone says your identity is compromised and pressures you to act quickly, hang up right away, call the official number on your card or statement. That's the right approach. Medical identity theft. So this is something new, but it happened to my dad's close friend recently where they got a.
It could be a thing where, like, generally speaking, if you're looking for stuff like this, make sure, like, don't call us, we'll call you type of thing. Like, just because they're offering it, don't. Yeah. I don't know if I would trust many offers from people in this regard.
Bill for several doctor's visits and physical therapy appointments that they never had.
There was a weird thing actually where one of my brothers was getting Wi-Fi, and they were acting like they were gonna close out their account and go to some other type of Wi-Fi provider, and all of a sudden, that the people who are running the company start offering him like way lower plans, way better deals on everything, and it's like it feels like if you could offer that anyways, any sort of like person of integrity would offer that kind of default. But no, once you're leaving, well, we can offer you this, but like it's carrion behavior, carrion grow behavior, man. Scavenger behavior, getting everything you can. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe that's the soulless corporation for you.
Imagine opening a bill for tens of thousands of dollars for medical procedures that are legit, but ones that you never had. That's what medical identity theft is. Someone uses your insurance to get care or even file fake claims. It could mess up.
I'm hoping, like, you could pretty easily get that figured out, I guess. Well, I don't know, easily, but like you could get that type of thing figured out because obviously the person who was at the hospital who received it, there would have been a lot of witnesses to that type of thing. So it's not just. It seems like there would tend to be a lot of witnesses to that sort of thing.
Your credit, your medical record, or even future access to your treatment. Always read your explanation of benefits. If you see care you didn't get, report it right away. For many victims, the worst part of all these scams isn't the lost money or headaches it can cause.
I would say that scams are 99% psychology and just 1% technology.
That's Bogdan from Bitdefender, who sponsored this video. They've been conducting pioneering research on these new AI scams and have helped protect people online for over 20 years.
Shame and guilt play a huge role into this type of cybercrime going unnoticed. Most of the time,
we're going to skip to the end so we get the gist of it all. The end of the matter. Oh.
We all love to kick. We can't stop. It's that Absolure commercial.
Which of these scams have you or someone you know run into? Drop it on. Use strong passwords and two-factor authorization, especially for.
Yeah, I guess maybe I do somewhat strong passwords, but generally it's my name combined with some random number. Actually, no, I take that back. One of them is a random fact about me from my childhood, combined with a whole bunch of random. So that one's actually pretty strong, I think. It's not something most people would know, but like you could, in theory, like just pick some sort of something that's intuitive to you, but that would not be intuitive to anyone else. Something that means something to you, or maybe even your family, but not something that would mean anything to anyone who's like looking at you, or not something they could find readily as far as information.
Email, health portals, banking apps. Oh, and for your phone. 4, monitor your account.
Oh, we have to read this out. Pause before you click or send money. Verify directly. Very good idea. Yeah, and it's one of those things like if you're being called by one of your kids, you might want to just say, okay, no, stop. I'll call you back just to make sure I have the right number here. It feels like that rushing kind of strategy is maybe not. It's maybe again another red flag. Monitor your accounts. Oh goodness, that sounds hard.
Review bank statements, insurance explanation of benefits, and credit reports regularly, even if it is a pain. And 5, this is the most important, talk openly about this with your family.
Oh my goodness, no. All right, that's it. Yeah, go look this up if you want. Dr. Mike, online health scams targeting my patients. Sounds weird. Targeting my patients, the patients that I have, not. No, there's no way to say that. There's patients, i.e., the customers who come to you, and then there's patients, the virtue. It feels like it's kind of weirdly on the liminal space between those two. All right, we're gonna maybe look at this. Do you want? I'm gonna cut the stream here and get back to you later. I think we'll finish this one out and then maybe play some video games. I have morning stuff to do. J.R.R. Tolkien. There's been some stuff recently over people trying to decolonize J.R.R. Tolkien's work. So yeah, that's a thing that is happening, I guess. Good luck with that, sickos. No, I don't think he needs his work decolonized. John Ronald. I'm gonna grab some water here. All right. John Ronald Reuel. Reuel? That sounds right. Tolkien, January 1992 to September 1973. You guys notice, like, if you know Lord of the Rings, you notice anything crazy about this number? 1973. Was an English writer and philologist. Philologist. philologist, so I'm going to guess that means lover of language. He was the author of the high fantasy works The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. From 1923 to 1945 was Ralston and Bosworth. Was the Ralston and Bosworth Professor of Anglo-Saxon and Fellowship of Pembroke College, both at the University of Oxford. He then moved within the same university to become Merton Professor of English Language and Literature and Fellow of Merton College. He held these positions from 1945 till his retirement in 1959. Tolkien was a close friend of C.S. Lewis, co-member of the Inklings. What the Harry? Informal literary discussion group associated with J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis at the University of Oxford for nearly 2 decades between the early 19. Oh, for the love, that's irked me. Some mouse in the wall chewing its stuff. Stupid thing. Kill it. I assume it's a mouse anyways. An informal literary discussion group. He was appointed a commander of the Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II on 28th March 1972. After Tolkien's death, his son Christopher published a series of works based upon his father's extensive notes and unpublished manuscripts, including The Silmarillion. Pretty good book. It's weirdly, though, it feels more disconnected than Lord of the Rings, actually. It's interesting, but it's a lot of like backstory to everything that happened, pretty much. These, together with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, form a connected body of tales, poems, fictional histories, invented languages, and literary essays about the fantasy world called Arda within Middle-earth. And between 1951 and 1955, Tolkien applied the term legendarium to the larger part of these writings. While many other authors had published works of fantasy before Tolkien, the tremendous success of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings ignited profound interest in the fantasy genre and ultimately precipitated an avalanche of new fantasy books and authors. As a result, he's been properly identified as the father of modern fantasy literature and is widely regarded as one of the most influential authors of all time. Tolkien was English and thought of himself as such. His immediate paternal ancestors were middle-class craftsmen who made and sold clocks, watches, and pianos in London and Birmingham. The Tolkien family originated from East Prussian town of Kreuzberg near Königsberg. Yeah, Königsberg, yeah. Which had been founded during the medieval German eastward expansion, where his earliest known paternal ancestor, Michael Tolkien, was born around 1620. In 1792, John Benjamin Tolkien and William Gravel took over the Eardley Norton manufacture in London, which then sold clocks and watches under the name Gravel and Tolkien. Daniel Gottlieb obtained British citizenship in 1794, but John Benjamin apparently never became a British citizen. Other German relatives joined the two brothers in London. Several people with the surname Tolkien or similar spellings. Some of them members of the same family as J.R.R. Tolkien, live in northern Germany, but most of them are descendants of people who were evacuated from East Prussia in 1945 at the end of the World War. According to Reitzard Derdzinski, the surname Tolkien is of Low Prussian origin and probably means son, descendant of Tolk. Tolkien mistakenly believed that his surname is derived from the German word Tollkühn, meaning foolhardy, and jokingly inserted himself as a cameo into the Notion Club papers under the literally translated name Raschbold, like rash and bold. That makes sense. Foolhardy. All right. However, Dersinski has demonstrated this is a false etymology. Another suspected origin is the East Prussian village of Tolkien. Well, J.R.R. Tolkien is aware of his family's German origin. His knowledge of the family's history was limited because he was early isolated from the family of his prematurely deceased father. Huh. Unfortunate, I suppose. Let's see if there's anything more interesting in here. Youth. In his early teens, Tolkien had first encounter with the constructed language, Animalic, an invention of his cousins, Mary and Marjorie in Pledon. At that time, he was studying Latin and Anglo-Saxon. Their interest in Animalic soon died away, but Mary and others, including Tolkien himself, invented a new and more complex language called Nevbosh. You guys started young. The next constructed language he came to work with, Nafarin, would be his own creation. Tolkien learned Esperanto sometime before 1909. What's the Esperanto? The world's most widely spoken constructed internal auxiliary language. I think that's the one that's a mixture of English and maybe Spanish and some other stuff. It's an interesting study if you ever get a chance. Around 10th of June, Tolkien learned Esperanto from sometime before 1909. Around the 10th of June, 1909, he composed the Book of Foxbrook, 16-page notebook, where the earliest examples of one of his invented alphabet appears. Short texts in this notebook are written in Esperanto. Nice. In 1911, when they were at King Edward's School, Tolkien and three friends, Rob Gilson, Geoffrey Bausch Smith, and Christopher Weissman, formed a semi-secret society called the TCBS. The initials stood for Tea Club and Barrovian Society, alluding to their fondness for drinking tea in Barrow's stores near the school and secretly in the school library. After leaving school, the members stayed in touch, and in December 1914, they held a council in London, Weissman's home, for Tolkien. The result of this meeting was a strong dedication to writing poetry. 1911, Tolkien went on a summer holiday in Switzerland, a trip he recollected vividly in a 1968 letter, noting the Bilbo's journey across the misty mountains, including the glissade down the slithering stones into the pine woods, is directly based upon his adventures of their party of 12, as their party of 12 hiked from the Interlaken to Lauterbrunnen on the camp in the moraines beyond them. Now, 7 years later, Tolkien remembered his regret at leaving the view of the eternal snows of Jungfrau and Zipperhorn, the Silvertone Calebdale of my dreams, that went across to Grindelwald and came across the Grossweide. Oh, for the love. All right. Studying at Exeter College. In October of the same year, Tolkien began studying at Exeter College. He initially read classics, but changed his course in 1913 to English language and literature, graduating in 1915 with first-class honors. Among his tutors at Oxford was Joseph Wright, whose primer of Gothic languages had inspired Tolkien as a schoolboy. Nice. Courtship and marriage. At the age of 16, Tolkien met Edith Mary Brett, who was 3 years his senior. Ooh, a cougar, basically. And when he and his brother Hilary moved to the boarding house where she lived in Duchess Road, oh, for the love, English are just as bad. Edgbaston, According to Humphrey Carpenter, Edith and Ronald took to frequenting Birmingham tea shops, especially one which had a balcony overlooking the pavement. They would sit and throw sugar lumps into the hats of passers-by, moving to the next table when the sugar bowl was empty. With two people of their personalities and their position, romance was bound to flourish. Both of them were orphans in need of affection, and they took and found they could give it to each other. During the summer of 1909, they decided they were in love. His guardian, Father Morgan, considered it altogether unfortunate that his surrogate son was romantically involved with an older Protestant woman. Tolkien wrote that the combined tension contributed to his having muffed his exams. Morgan prohibited him from meeting, talking to, or even corresponding with Edith until he was 21. Tolkien obeyed his prohibition to the letter, with one notable early exception over which Father Morgan threatened to cut short his university career if he did not stop. On the evening of his 21st birthday, Tolkien wrote to Edith, who was living with a family friend named C.H. Jessup in Cheltenham. He declared he had never ceased to love her and asked her to marry him. Edith replied that she had already accepted the proposal of George Field, the brother of one of her closest school friends. But Edith said she had agreed to marry Field only because she felt on the shelf and begun to doubt that Tolkien still cared for her. She explained that because of Tolkien's letter, everything had changed. On the 8th of January, 1913, Tolkien traveled by train to Cheltenham, where he was met on the platform by Edith. The two took a walk in the countryside and sat under a railway viaduct and talked. By the end of the day, Edith had agreed to accept Tolkien's proposal. She wrote to Field and returned her engagement ring. Field was dreadfully upset at first, and the Field family was insulted and angry upon learning Edith's new plans. Jessup wrote to her guardian, "I have nothing to say against Tolkien. He is a cultured gentleman, but his prospects are poor in the extreme, and when he will be in a position to marry, I cannot imagine. Had he adopted a profession, it would have been different." Upon their engagement, Edith reluctantly announced that she had converted to Catholicism at Tolkien's insistence. All right, hey. I thought Catholicism wasn't really a thing in England. Well, I guess for a while at least, maybe. Jessup, like many others of his age and class, strongly anti-Catholic, was infuriated, and he had ordered Edith to find other lodgings. Edith Pratt and Ronald Tolkien were formally engaged at Birmingham in January 1913 and married at St. Mary's Immaculate Catholic Church at Warwick on the 26th of March 1916. In his 1941 letter to Michael, Tolkien expressed admiration for his wife's willingness to marry a man with no job, little money, and no prospects, except the likelihood of being killed in the Great War. Yeah, well, that's quite romantic, actually. All right, we are going to play a little bit of Tower Domination. I did actually get into Mega Bonk, but it's one of those things that it's almost addicting enough that I did actually get to the boss fight then. I think I could have beat the boss, but I was getting too involved, too obsessed. It's a fun game, really fun game. All right, make sure this is. Make sure this is all working. I don't need to hear anything on this, so I don't really care about my ear buds are going poopy. No, it is working. It's still working. And everything seems to be hunky-dory. All right. Play some of this here. Impregnable. Impregnable. It's funny because it sounds wrong. I'm going to have to go back. There was some glitch that I learned on my last one that I could get the home base to have way better health, I think. Master Ordnance, Imperial Supervision. Wars. One choice during reinforcements. That's probably not a bad idea. All right, let's go with this. No. So I think you have to at least have one, maybe. Slow. Alright. Go abilities. I'll go with that. That's an easy one. I don't know if you get more for it or what. Oh. Pick that. I think we're good for the first couple of waves in this one. There we go. So, I still can't remember what that is. Is it something with the bunkers? There's definitely something about. All right. Okay, what the hairy is this goopy thing? I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's maybe some sort of update. I've never seen that formation on the map before. I guess it works, hey? Ooh. Alright, let's see here. Okay, that's becoming a problem. I might have to look at my last gameplay on this. Maybe that's where I figured it out or something. One nice thing about actually playing games online or playing stuff on stream, you can actually look back and see what you discovered. So I knew there was something where I was able to at least significantly improve the health of the home base. Mm-hmm. All right, upgrade these if I get a chance here. Come on, there we go. One of the things I think one of the things you want to make sure you do is make sure one of these things has like the most openings, because I think the degree of entrances control where the enemies come from most frequently. All right. And I did not get any platforms, unfortunately. Maybe not. That'll do. Hmm. I'll upgrade these things. Hmm. Hmm. Now, check if I can build in with some recon. That's his stuff. Here they come. Metacris. Okay, those things are fast. Alright. I should have actually done the one where it's. Alright. Oh, you know what? Huzzah. That works, kind of. Alright. Hmm. again, I want most of the entrances coming from over here. Alright, grab this. You know, I still wish I could get Sly Cooper on here sometime. It's still one of my favorite games. Like ever. I try to actually upgrade this. And this wasn't the thing, though. There was something about improving the health of the HQ, and I still can't put my finger on it. It's stupid. There's some trick that I learned that like really helped with some of the stuff. It's one of those things, like if you have a wave that gets out of hand, it's really nice to be able to have some of that stuff around. Yeah, I go with that one. Alright, fine. Extend this one a little bit so you can see it coming from a little further. Alright, now as soon as I get a werewolf, which sounds awesome. Werewolf. The warmonger. Wait, there is not a single place to... No, there's one, but that's not exactly where I want to put it. You get a couple... Let's see if we can get a couple of thingies. Alright, how come I can never just get like a double thing? Alright, go one further out. I should probably put some stuff down here if I get a chance. Nice. Actually do that on the others. Alright. And that wasn't it. I know you can use the bunkers to upgrade your home base, but that was not what I was thinking of. Something else. Stupid. Ow. Lost. Alright, come on. Nice. Fly production. Oh, yes. Yes. Alright. That's closed up. And nice place for a claymore. I want to put one here. That's good. That's good. This one. Here they come. What, the Santa trope? No, Santa trope. All right. Oh. Really need some heavy hitting stuff here. Stuff starts to get really weird. These later thingies. Oh, there's a lot more heavy creatures. By which I don't mean fat. I just mean they're literally heavy. All right. Yonk. That. Still feel a werewolf yet. Heavily on. Oh, what? Stupid. Maybe that was one of the things. Well, I don't think so. One range per battlefront, so that would probably help, but I've been keeping the battlefronts more open. Ooh, nice. Re-entry point. That really improves the range of that, alright. What are they dragging? Heavily armored. What is that wagon? More wagon. I want a pedestal. Come on. Give me some tier 2 blueprints. Let's improve these guys. That's a very good idea. Alright. Like I said, you get a lot more heavy stuff in later tiers here and later waves. This is going to be interesting. Again, I want some tier 2 stuff. Sort of a big gun. One of those plasma cannons or whatever. There we go. Super heavy pulse laser. We can keep most of the people coming up from there. Should be golden. Range. Oh, look at that. I think it's supposed to target the really heavy. Yeah, see? Sweet. Yeah, this is stupid. I wish they would get this like leveled out or something. But it feels like all of a sudden you'll just get like a crazy heavy wave, and it's hard to make any sort of adjustments during the wave. Because I feel like it was like a standard deviation higher than the other stuff. Yeah. I don't know. All right. Let's go in here maybe. That. Oh, werewolf. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Hmm. Oh, that's also nice. All right. That's better. Maybe that was what I was thinking of. Maybe that was the thing that had changed, where I was letting all of the battlefronts be open, so it allows you to maybe to have. Not for sure. Not for sure. All right. All right, put that at the end. So I can set up a bombing run if I ever get one of those. Huzzah! Alright. Probably have to improve that thing. So this. Cheers. Now. Put another one of these. Put that in. What is that flag? What the? Oh my goodness, that is not one. Two. That probably, probably with the kibosh. Oh, this it was fences. That's what it was. Right, barriers, not fences, barriers. You can use those, and you can get like a 30% improvement to your HQ health. Really, really handy. And I never really used barriers because they're kind of boring. But yeah, there's an improvement on them that literally instead of improving the barrier health, it improves your HQ's health. Really crazy good. Crazy, crazy good. All right. And I put this stupid thing here, and I can't sell that thing. It's not really much use there. Well, technically it could be somewhat if you put the snipers on top, but stupid. Oh, that might be some glitch with my mouse too, but I'm pretty sure. Well, maybe I did press the button. I guess I don't know. Heavily armored. What is that? That useful, and I might grab that. I haven't even seen any barriers yet. Trenches. Alright. Well, I should do though. Huh. Okay, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's got a lot of HP right now, but it's not a thing you want to happen a lot. I need to be able to set this up at some point here too, probably. Now barriers, I think, are really underrated. The fact that I wasn't using them is probably some of the reason I was having such a hard time with it. I think that's a one-off, though. Let's go with this. Alright, there. See if we can find a place to set up this cannon, but there doesn't appear to be one. Dang it. That targets some of it. Alright. Might be about as good as you can get right now. Alright, several waves left. Sanction cannon, that's a good one too. What's with the tentacle thing? Didn't see those before. Maybe that's an update. Majoris. That leads the final wave. Alright, I'll see if there's any improvements. Oh, nice. HP per battlefront, but that's not, that's for the thingy. Is overloaded. Adjacent buildings. Blah, 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 blah. Troops HP. 100 HP. Okay. Don't need that. Stupid. Alright. What I want to get for the end of it is improvement to this thing. That's really the navigator. Maybe it's a better from ow. Alright. Platform. I don't know how useful that would be, especially at this point, but I guess maybe. I have another thing to build, but no, I should have gotten the other sniper tower. That would probably better. Which is this? Maybe here? I'll leave it there. Now. And I can't improve that. That's... why not? Something there. Yeah, I was thinking though, I could stick this on the other end. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to get an actual bombing run. So, there we go. Golden. 500. No, 600. There we go. That main drag there is going to be issue of the highest order. Of that. I want most of it coming along there, if possible. I think that's going to help much, but that's what I should. No, I should have. I feel like it really been a help would have been upgrading that thing. I cannot believe that's actually working. That might actually work. Huzzah! At 2,000 hit points, man. Get him. They might have rebalanced stuff too, because I remember those last couple of waves would always get me if I wasn't ready for it, and this felt like a very slapdash sort of setup. It did it. All right. All right. Thanks for watching, you guys. And maybe see you next week, or I'll probably do some videos in between here, probably too. But all right, that is about all. Bye.